Welcome to HND Live News, Wednesday Global Roundup. Today from the news desk, Saurya Chandani, and today's news headlines are US election news, science and entertainment, COVID-19 news, world news, Indian news, and sports news. Moving on, US election news. US election 2020. Bloomberg donates $100 million for Biden in Florida. Billionaire Mike Bloomberg has pledged at least $100 million to help Democrat Joe Biden's presidential campaign in Florida. Of the battleground states, Florida offers the biggest share of the electoral college votes needed to win. Mr. Bloomberg already spent $1 billion this year trying to defeat Mr. Biden to become the Democratic challenger. Donald Trump has hinted he will spend his own money in the state ahead of his early voting opening on 24th September. Both campaigns are keen to appeal to voters who may be casting their votes early by post and set the tone of the final week of their campaigns. Postal voting is expected to be double that seen in 2016 as the coronavirus pandemic spurs voters to avoid polling stations. Florida offers 29 of the 270 electoral college voters needed to win the election. US official claims pressure to downplay intelligence reports. An intelligence analyst at the US Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has said he was put under pressure to downplay the threat of Russian interference in the 3rd November election, as it made the president look bad. A wise whistleblower complained, Brian Murphy said he had been demoted for refusing to alter reports on this and other issues such as supremacy. The directives were illegal, he said. The White House and DHS have both denied the allegations. U.S. intelligence agencies concluded that Russia had interfered in the 2016 election, but President Donald Trump has rejected allegations that his election victory was influenced by Russia, at times questioning findings from his own agency. An inquiry led by former FBI Director Robert Mueller found no evidence of a criminal conspiracy between Mr. Trump's 2016 presidential campaign team and Moscow. Mr. Murphy's complaint was released by the Democrat-led House Intelligence Committee, which has asked Mr. Murphy to testify to Congress later in the month. Trump deliberately played down virus, Woodward book says. US President Donald Trump knew COVID-19 was deadlier than the flu before it hit the country, but wanted to play down the crisis, according to a new book. Bob Woodward, who broke the Watergate scandal and is one of the nation's most respected journalists, interviewed Mr. Trump 18 times from December to July. Mr. Trump is quoted as telling him the virus was deadly stuff before the first US death was confirmed. Responding, the president said he had wanted to avoid causing public panic. Some 190,000 Americans have been recorded as dying with COVID-19 since the beginning of the pandemic. On Wednesday, some US media released parts of the interviews between the president and the journalist, revealing his reported remarks on the outbreak as well as on race and other issues. Here are some of the key quotes so far from Rage, which will be released on 15 September. Science and entertainment news. Is there life floating in the clouds of Venus? It's an extraordinary possibility, the idea that living organisms are floating in the clouds of planet Venus. But this is what astronomers are now considering after detecting a gas in the atmosphere they can't explain. That gas is phosphine, a molecule made up of one phosphorus atom and 3 hydrogen atoms. On Earth, phosphine is associated with life, with microbes living in the guts of animals like penguins or in oxygen-poor environments such as swamps. For sure, you can make it industrially, but there are no factories on Venus and there are certainly no penguins. So why is this gas there? 50 kilometers up from the planet's surface. Professor Jane Greaves from Cardiff University, UK, and colleagues are asking just this question. They have published a paper in the journal Nature Astronomy detailing their observations of phosphine at Venus, as well as the investigations they have made to try to show this molecule could have a natural non-biological origin. Climate change, warmth shatters section of Greenland ice shelf. A big chunk of ice has been broken away from the Arctic's largest remaining ice shelf, 79 degrees in the northeast Greenland. The ejected section covers about 110 square kilometers. Satellite imagery shows it to have shattered into many small pieces. The loss is further evidence, say scientists, of the rapid climate changes taking place in Greenland. The atmosphere in this region has warmed by about 3 degrees Celsius since 1980, said Dr. Jenny Turton. And in 2019 and 2020, it saw record summer temperatures, the polar researcher at Friedrich Alexander University in Germany. The ice shelf is roughly 80 kilometers long by 20 kilometers wide and is the floating front of the northeast Greenland ice stream, where it flows off the land into the ocean to become buoyant. And its leading edge, the 79-degree North Glacier, splits into two with a minor offshoot turning directly north. It's this offshoot or tributary called Spalt's Glacier that has now disintegrated. Humpback whales enter Crocodile River in Australian first. Australian officials say that they will try to guide a humpback whale out of a crocodile-infested river in the Northern Territory after it got lost and ended up 30 kilometers inland. The whale and others were on an annual sea migration when some of them took a wrong turn, experts believe. Two whales were later able to swim out of the river, but at least one remains. It's the first known instance of a whale being found in crocodile territory so far inland in Australia. Given its estimated 16-meter, 52 feet length, the humpback is considered unlikely to be disturbed by crocodiles. But that risk could escalate if the whale were to become stranded in the shallow waters, officials said on Monday. Moving on, COVID-19 news. COVID in Yemen, the city where all the doctors fled except one. COVID in Yemen, the city where all the doctors fled except one. During the height of the pandemic in Yemen, there was only one functioning hospital in the city of Aden, which is home to more than 1 million people. Afraid of COVID-19 and with barely any PPE available, most doctors fled, leaving Dr. Zoha as the only doctor left in the city willing to treat COVID patients. Nearly 6 months since the virus spread in Yemen, the BBC is the first international broadcaster to reach the country to see how people are dealing with the pandemic. Coronavirus, who would get the vaccine first? If or when scientists succeed in making a coronavirus vaccine, there won't be enough to go around. Research labs and pharmacy companies are writing the rule book on time it takes to develop, test, and manufacture an effective vaccine. Unprecedented steps are being taken to ensure rollout of the vaccine is global. But there are concerns that the race to get one will be won by the richest countries at the expense of the most vulnerable. So who will get it first? How much will it cost? And in a global crisis, how do we make sure nobody gets left behind? Vaccines to fight infectious diseases usually takes years to develop, test, and deliver. Even then, their success is not guaranteed. To date, only one human infectious disease has been totally eradicated, smallpox, and that took 200 years. The rest, from polio to measles, mumps, and tuberculosis, we live with or without thanks to vaccinations. Coronavirus, 6 months after pandemic declared, where are the global hotspots? Coronavirus is continuing its spread across the world with nearly 30 million confirmed cases in 188 countries at a death toll fast approaching 1 million. 6 months after the World Health Organization, WHO, declared it a pandemic, the virus is surging in many countries, and some that had apparent success in suppressing initial outbreaks are also seeing infections rise again. However, the number of confirmed cases during the spring peak is likely to be an underestimate of the true level of infection, as widespread testing was not available in many countries earlier in the world. 28,900,076,502 cases and 924,093 deaths. Technology news: ARM UK-based chip designer sold to US firm Nvidia. UK-based computer chip designer ARM Holdings is being sold to American graphics chip specialist Nvidia. The deal values ARM at $40 billion 4 years after it was bought by Japanese Union SoftBank for $32 billion. ARM's technology is at the heart of the most smartphones among many other devices. Nvidia has promised to keep the business based in the UK, to hire more staff, and to retain ARM's brand. It added that the deal would create the premier computing company for the age of artificial intelligence (AI). ARM will remain headquartered in Cambridge, said Nvidia's chief executive Jensen Huang. We will expand on this great site and build a world-class AI research facility, supporting developments in healthcare, life sciences, robotics, self-driving cars, and other fields. TikTok Oracle confirms being picked by ByteDance to be app's partner. US tech firm Oracle has confirmed that TikTok's owner has formally proposed it become a trusted technology partner to the video sharing app. Full details of the tie-up have yet to be disclosed, but the aim is to avoid President Trump's threat to shut down the Chinese-owned service in the US. Mr. Trump has cited national security concerns, suggesting users' data could be accessed by Beijing under current arrangements. Current owner ByteDance denies this. It says it has taken extraordinary measures to protect the privacy and security of TikTok's user data, which is stored in the States and Singapore. Oracle is a database specialist without experience of running a social media app targeted at the general public. Earlier in the day, U.S. Treasury Secretary Stevens said that the Trump administration had been contacted by the American firm to discuss plans to make TikTok a U.S. headquartered company. He said the White House intended to review the idea this week. Microsoft had also attempted to buy the platform but revealed it had been rejected on Sunday. TikTok has released a statement that does not make direct reference to Oracle. Google says its carbon footprint is now zero. Google says it has wiped out its entire carbon footprint by investigating in high-quality carbon offsets. It became carbon neutral in 2007 and says it has now compensated for all of the carbon it has ever created. It also aimed to run all of its data centers and offices on carbon-free energy by 2013, Chief Executive Sundar Pichai has announced. Other large technology companies have also committed to reducing or eliminating their carbon use. In January, Microsoft revealed plans to become carbon negative by 2013. In July, Apple announced a target of becoming carbon neutral across its entire business and manufacturing supply chain by 2030. Amazon has set a 2040 target to go carbon neutral. Mr. Pichai said Google's pledge to be using only carbon-free energy by 2013 was its biggest sustainability moonshot yet. We'll do things like pairing wind and solar power sources together, increasing our use of battery storage, he said. And we are working on ways to apply AI, artificial intelligence, to optimize our electricity demand and forecasting. Moving on, world news. Coronavirus, Marseille COVID-19 hospital beds close to saturation. The use of hospital beds by COVID-19 patients in the French city of Marseille is close to saturation amid a sharp spike in infections. Surgeries are being reduced to cope with an incidence rate that has risen to 312 per 100,000 people since September. New limits on gatherings are being introduced around Marseille and in the southwestern city of Bordeaux. The two cities are the main new hotspots in a country that on Saturday recorded a big surge in cases. The 10,561 new infections over 24 hours represented the biggest rise since large-scale testing began. Europe locked down new coronavirus rules country by country. France has recorded more than 425,000 infections and almost 31,000 deaths in the coronavirus epidemic, Johns Hopkins University research shows. U.S. West Coast fires roar over climate change's roles as Trump visits. Democratic politicians on the U.S. West Coast have accused President Donald Trump on being in denial about climate change's role in the huge wildfires there before his visit to California. Blazes in California, Oregon, and Washington state have burned almost 2 hectares of land and killed at least 35 people since early August. Washington's governor called climate change a blowtorch over our states. Climate change skeptic Mr. Trump blames the crisis on poor forest management. The president is due to be briefed on Monday by emergency crews who have been battling the fires during a visit to McClellan Park. Victoria police officer appears to stomp on man's head during arrest. A man is in coma after he was allegedly hit by a police car and kicked in the head by an officer during an arrest in Melbourne, Australia. The man, 32, was admitted to intensive care after the arrest near a hospital on Sunday. He was being treated for mental health issues at the hospital but left, prompting staff to call the police. Victoria Police said the man was behaving erratically and assaulted an officer. A video of the arrest appears to show one policeman stomp on the man's head before he and 5 other officers pin him to the ground. Victoria Police said its watchdog would investigate the arrest, which one government minister described as concerning. No action has been taken against the officers involved, calling for an independent investigation into the arrest. The man's father accused the officers of using excessive force. It's like watching a video from America or Beirut, he told the Herald Sun newspaper. Police are not above the law, they should be held accountable. They were kicking him and he wasn't even fighting back. It was extremely excessive. Moving on, Indian news, Supreme Court to organize mental health workshop for court staff. The initiative is the brainchild of Chief Justice of India, CJI, say Bobde, who on September 12 spoke about the importance of mental health during the pandemic and said that the court was in the process of setting up a mental health initiative. The Supreme Court will organize on Tuesday an interactive workshop titled Mind Matters in collaboration with the Director Institute of Human Behavior and Allied Sciences in order to help court staff manage stress and anxiety caused by prevailing uncertainty due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The workshop, a Supreme Court press note dated September 14, said was to ensure overall wellness and to create awareness among stakeholders, that is, officers and officials of the registry, advocates as well as litigants, to enable them to deal with the strain, fear and anxieties induced by the pandemic. All officers of the rank of registrars and additional registrars will join the workshop, which will be held at 3:30 p.m. in the multi-purpose hall in Block C of the additional building complex, the note added. Monday's announcement was the first step in that regard. There are plans for setting up mental wellness help desks and teleconsultation, the press note added. India doesn't have clear social distancing rules. Learning from our other nations, can we not, for instance, say we will physically meet members from another household only for essential purposes like caregiving and forsake physical interaction for all other avoidable purposes? While the physical distancing guidelines related to public spaces are well understood by people in India, adherence to the guidelines is another question. The guidelines on large public gatherings and congregations are clear. They are prohibited, as was observed during the Ganesh Chaturthi and Moharram festivals. While the physical distancing guidelines related to public spaces are well understood by the people in India, adherence of the guidelines is another question. Compliance with social distancing guidelines is expected to decrease the spread, morbidity, and mortality related to any contagious disease. Social distancing, according to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, MOHFW, is a non-pharmaceutical infection prevention and control intervention implemented to avoid decreased contact between those who are infected with a disease-causing pathogen and those who are not, so as to stop or slow down the rate and extent of disease transmission in a community. As per the unlock guidelines issued on August 29, based on the directive related to social distancing, individuals must maintain a distance of 6 feet in public places. While social distancing is a widely used term, Dr. Maria of the World Health Organization has prompted the term physical distancing over social distancing. According to her, physical distancing is keeping the physical distance from people so that we can prevent the virus from transferring to one another. A close examination of all the unlock guidelines show that the need to maintain 6 feet distance in public spaces, while being an extremely important directive, is directing people to maintain physical distancing rather than social distancing. On May 10, when the total number of cases in the United Kingdom was 219,183, Prime Minister Boris Johnson outlined a conditional plan to reopen society. Accordingly, the public was allowed to enjoy parks and public spaces and take unlimited outdoor exercise, provided they were done only with the members of the same household. Today, when the doubling rate in the UK is 129 days, social distancing guidelines, among the other things, suggest the following for people living in England. A maximum of 6 people can meet outdoors and indoors from multiple households. A household of more than 6 can gather in public or private, but not join members outside the household. While the physical distancing guidelines related to public spaces are well understood by people in India, adherence to the guidelines is another question. But with the easing of restrictions and phased reopening, what social distancing rules are people to follow related to their movement to other households for presumably avoidable social interactions? One can argue that all are expected to wear masks and practice social distancing, but the definition of social distancing is 6 feet distance. A recent research study finds that silent transmission of COVID-19 during the pre-symptomatic and asymptomatic stages was estimated to be responsible for more than half of the overall transmission. Pre-symptomatic COVID-19 patients can transmit the infection unaware they're carrying the virus by leaving the infected droplets on surfaces. Further, a team of researchers from the Princeton University and the University of Montpellier, while calculating infection probability during casual conversations in a social setting across the table over lunch or parties, found that in a poorly ventilated space, the infection risk of speaking with super spreader without a mask even for less than 1 minute is high even with a 3-meter separation. So in the absence of a detailed and clear social distancing guideline, can we not make our own citizen formulated ones? Learning from other nations, can we not, for instance, say we will physically meet members from another household only for essential purposes like caregiving and forsake physical interaction for all other avoidable purposes? Access to technology has ensured we don't get disconnected from our families and loved ones during the lockdown. Maybe our lives for a few months more will be dependent on mediated technology, but aren't we capable of these small sacrifices? For the numbers to come down, all of us must do our bit. Delhi Metro now puts floor stickers to ensure social distancing. Nearly 2.5 lakh commuters use the service of the Delhi Metro across various corridors till late evening on the Monday, the first working day since the resumption of full services post 169-day hiatus due to COVID-19. Passengers wear masks while using metro services during Unlock 4 at Rajiv Chowk Metro Station in New Delhi. To further enhance social distancing norms in Delhi metro trains, the DMRC has put floor markers inside coaches beside the existing stickers on alternate seats, official said on Monday. The DMRC has been taking to social media to raise awareness among the commuters about observing social distancing to curb the spread of COVID-19. Apart from stickers on alternate seats, DMRC is now further strengthening the social distancing signatures inside its train. 800 coaches are already equipped with the floor markers, and within a week, floor markers will be placed in the remaining 1,400 metro coaches. Metro back on track, it tweeted on Monday. The seat stickers indicate commuters to sit on alternate seats. A train coach can accommodate about 50 passengers on seats and a total of nearly 300 riders in the entire compartment, including standing commuters. With social distancing norms, this number has been reduced drastically. Moving on, sports news. US Open 2020, Naomi Osaka beats Victoria to win third Grand Slam title. Naomi Osaka demonstrated her growing maturity to fight back against Victoria Azarenka in a compelling US Open final and claim her third Grand Slam title. Japanese fourth seed Osaka 22-1, 1-6, 6-3, 6-3 for her second US Open title. Osaka was overwhelmed in the first set and in danger of trailing 3-0 in the second, but then won 10 of the next 12 games to seize the momentum. The Belarus woman, 31 in her first major final since 2013, was broken for 5-3 in the decider before Osaka served out. Osaka shrieked with joy as she took her second match point, then calmly lay on the court and stared at the New York sky as she contemplated her latest achievement. Osaka's level raised considerably as Azarenka was unable to maintain the intensity she showed in one-sided opening set. The fight back ensured Osaka, who won the 2018 US Open and 2019 Australian Open, maintained her record of winning every Grand Slam final she has played in. I don't want to play you in any more finals. I didn't really enjoy that. It was a really tough match for me, Osaka jokingly told Azarenka. She added, it was really inspiring for me because I used to watch you play here when I was younger. I learned a lot, so thank you. Breonna Taylor, Lewis Hamilton could face FIA investigation over anti-racism t-shirt. Formula One bosses are looking into the looking into whether Lewis Hamilton broke rules at the Tuscan Grand Prix by wearing a t-shirt highlighting police brutality. A spokesman from the FIA said the matter was under active consideration. He said the FIA was a non-political organization and was considering if Hamilton's t-shirt broke its statutes. The t-shirt said, "Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor, a black woman shot 8 times in Louisville, Kentucky, home by US police in March." Hamilton's t-shirt, which he wore during the pre-race anti-racism demonstration and on the podium, also said, "Say her name." It was not immediately clear which statute from governing body the FIA was at issue. Asked whether the FIA considered the t-shirt to be bearing a political message, the spokesman said, "That's the consideration we are looking into." Taylor was one of a number of victims of incidents involving police violence in the US whose names have been rallying cries for equality and justice. Hamilton said after winning the race on Monday, "I've been waiting to bring awareness to the fact that there are people being killed on the street, and someone was killed in her own house and they were in the wrong house and those guys are still walking free." Lionel Messi top of Forbes money list in 2020, Cristiano Ronaldo second. Barcelona forward Lionel Messi has topped the Forbes list for the highest earning footballer in 2020. Forbes estimated Messi's yearly earnings at $126 million, with Juventus Cristiano Ronaldo second on $117 million. Neymar was in third with Paris Street German teammate Kylian Mbappe fourth. 3 Premier League players Mohamed Salah, Paul Pogba and David De Gea made the top 10, as did Real Madrid and Wales forward the Gareth Bale. Welshman Bale came 8th in the list at $29 million despite a disappointing 2019 to 2020 season on a personal level, which saw him fall out with Real boss Zidane and only feature in 2 of his club's last 14 matches of the campaign. Liverpool forward Salah was 5th ahead of the Manchester United midfielder Pogba in 6th, with United goalkeeper De Gea in 10th. Barcelona forward Griezmann was 7th and Munich striker Robert Lewandowski was 9th. The top 3 were in the same order as in 2019, although Mbappe rose 3 places from 7th to 4th. Argentine Messi, 33, tried to leave Barcelona this summer and submitted a transfer request in August, but decided to stay because no club would be able to afford his release clause. Forbes list of highest earning footballers: Lionel Messi, Barcelona and Argentina, $126 million. Cristiano Ronaldo, Juventus and Portugal, $117 million. Neymar, Paris Saint-Germain and Brazil, $96 million. Kylian Mbappe, Paris Saint-Germain and France, $42 million. This was Savya Chandani signing off from HND Live News.